Hello and welcome to Surveyor Says, the podcast from the National Society of Professional Surveyors. Each week, we bring you fascinating guests that are involved in the profession of surveying. My name is Tim Burch, and I'm the Executive Director for the National Society of Professional Surveyors and your host for the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast on most of your favorite streaming platforms, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. For more information about the podcast and NSPS, please visit our website, nsps.us.com. So, without further delay, here's our next episode of Surveyor Says, the NSPS Podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of Surveyor Says. This is your host, Tim Burch. And, I say this every week, that when I find somebody I really want to talk to, I do get excited about it. This guest is no different. We came across her exploits indirectly. I know I've seen her name in various places because of her outreach, and then when she pitched it out to us it was simple as this. She had a publication do a story about her and her outreach for our journalism competition, and it really caught our eye. So, hello, Kimberly Odom, Delta Land Surveying, right? Delta Land Surveying?
Yeah.
Well, very good. Thank you for taking time to tell your story, because, like I said, what as I've been doing a little bit of research, I try to do my homework on people, and everything I just keep opening up is they've done this and they've done this and they've done this. And it's like, wow, what a role model for us. And so let's talk to this lady. I want to hear her story, and then I want to hear what drives her to want to be who Kimberly Odom is. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Wow. My name is Kim Odom. I'm with Delta Land Surveyors. I live in Jefferson County, Florida. Jefferson County actually is the only county in the state of Florida without a red light in the entire county. That's right. I was born and raised in Shady Grove, which is Taylor County, which neighbors Jefferson County, and most of the family still lives there. I'm a second generation surveyor. My dad and my uncle are surveyors, and two of my first cousins are surveyors. My dad and uncle started the business in 1983. They had bought the business from Mr. T.B. Howard. It was Monticello's local surveyor, and he had been here since the 70s. And Delta Land Surveyors was founded in January of 1983. Uncle Dale was actually when University of Florida started their surveying program.
Yes.
He was one of the first students in the very first year that they had the surveying program.
Ah, nice.
So, but Dad passed a torch to me and my two younger brothers in 2021, and we became Delta Land Surveyors, LLC. And then on our 50th anniversary in 2023, we bought Uncle Dale's Taylor County office out, and so we run everything out of our Monticello office here. Dad and Uncle Dale, they say that they're retired, they're semi-retired. You want them to do a survey. If they want to do the survey, they're not retired. If they don't want to do the survey, they give you the office number and tell you that they're retired, but they're there. I mean, they're just one call away. If I need a second opinion or a background, or just say, hey, will you look at this? It's really nice to have that wealth of knowledge that won't always be there, just a phone call away. So exactly. So family business, were you just dragged into it early on, or how did your path into surveying get there? So yeah, basically I remember, I don't know how old I was when Dad started bringing us to the office. He was a single dad. I remember my first memory of surveying was having a really, really, really long, I call it receipt. I mean, but with a bunch of numbers. I had no clue what it meant. And an HP 48 calculator. and a yellow highlighter and a red pen, and I was dressing three buttons, and I was to make sure that all of these numbers matched. Now I had no clue what I was doing. It was probably first or second grade, but after school, this is what I would do, and it probably became my first hate of surveying. Because of this repetitious. Of course, now I know it's northern and eastern coordinates, but that's my first memory of after school homework and surveying was, that. But for as long as I can remember, Dad's had us, in the office and in the field. Then when I got to high school, I don't think it was out of defiance, more than I picked up interest, wanting to cut my own path. I actually started taking journalism. And that's actually what I went to college for. I was going to become a journalist. But I never did. I never applied for. I never went to go work for the New York Times. I never even applied to work at the local newspaper. I went to University of Florida and got my geomatics undergrad certificate and sat for the Florida exam because, after you've worked with Dad for 20 years, you realize you're not moving to New York. And so, and I'm grateful that I did, though, because if he had just not put me on that old HP48, I think I would have came to the realization that I was happier a lot longer or a lot sooner. But I really am glad I did, because I think that I am making a larger impact as a surveyor than I would have as a journalist or editorial. I think that my impact is greater. Not that it's great, but just in the different roles.
Oh, absolutely. No, I get it. And it sounds like since starting you at such a young age, you've seen every facet of the business. That from the field work to doing some drafting and doing some calculations and highlighting HP48 receipts, just all of it. So, tell us how you feel like that. How did that add to especially when you went back to go get your geomatics degree? Tell us how that helped your educational process, and you had a leg up on a lot of people that didn't have that.
But it was sad, actually, and it surprised me how there were several of us that were distance learning, and it seemed like most of us that were distance learning were already in the profession of surveying. But the ones that were, in school, it just surprised me, and I don't know why it surprised me, but how little that they knew about procedures and stuff, things like that, things that would just, come just as second, nature to us. It really surprised me, but it saddened me that I think there was only 14 people in the class.
Oh, and sure.
It was really sad. And I think it was, this was, 10 years ago, but it really made me think, gosh, and I look at Florida statistics every year to see, we got, I think, 2,300 licensed surveyors, and I think 40% of them are 60 and over, and 60% of them are 40 and over, and it's just, it's scary. It's really scary, to say that. So, we need to get it out there. We need to get it out there. Who doctors are. You drive on the interstate, you see doctor billboards and lawyer billboards. I didn't even know what a land surveyor was when I was up here doing stuff, but I just, knew that I was coloring numbers. But it definitely helped a lot. It helped a lot. And then it held me back a lot too, because I was, hard-headed and learning, maybe almost. I didn't, with the GIS and with, the classes and stuff like that, some of that almost seemed Greek to me, until until it clicked. But, so it was mostly beneficial, but, it did hold me up at times.
Well, and that was going to be one of my other questions, and especially learning from such a young age and really having the hands-on, of the business, as you've progressed and as you went along your career and your business has progressed, what do you think are some of the challenges that we have now with surveying that maybe we didn't have before? It is computers, it is data collectors, there's a lot of that stuff, but there's a lot of technology that I think that we've got to stay up on top of, besides just the basic knowledge of the survey themselves?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, just look at where the industry's heading. I mean, there's drones, UAVs are already, transforming aerial mapping, site
Right.
monitoring, and even LiDAR surveys. And clients are already starting to expect that as part of the package. I mean, not here where we're rural, but I mean, even here, we have 3D laser scanning and LiDAR. They build like incredibly detailed models of terrain and
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure, buildings, and that's becoming standards for engineers and architects. And then there's the integration of GIS and BIM, and it's just sometimes it's not enough just to deliver a CAD drawing. Survey data it's just being put together and woven into these bigger systems for design and planning, and and even life cycle management of projects. It's
Right. Right.
and it's a lot to keep up with. It's a lot. Would we have learned this way and done it this way for so long, and this new technology that it increases and increasing. I mean, I'm Generation X, so I'm kind of borderline.
Yep.
But I mean, there's it doesn't mean that the other things aren't important. I mean, it still comes down to legal boundaries and trust, and even with all the new technology, you're always gonna always going to need surveyors that know how to make sound judgments, and be able to stand behind what they do and be able to defend the boundary line decisions that they make. But the things like the GNSS networks and the AI automation, the data security, and even the sustainability focused projects, they're coming fast. So
Yes. Well, spoken like a true surveyor, and I appreciate those comments, because you're right. The basics of what we're doing still need to be taught, remembered, relied upon, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the tools you're using; it's the product and expertise that we're kicking out. And I love your explanation. That's great. I guess having a foot in the past a little bit, I think, we've been on the same paths, because I'm a second generation surveyor as well. And I got dragged out in the field when I was in high school. And so, yeah, we've watched the changing tide of technology. But as a business owner, like you just said, clients are demanding some of these new technologies and these new packages. Where do you see the I guess the market going for surveying, the big drive of what do you think is going to be the final product that is really the clients are going to be clamoring for the most? I mean, we're still doing land surveys, don't get me wrong,
right.
but there's so much topos and 3D modeling and all that stuff. What do you think where's it all going?
If I had to prioritize, I mean, I think it would be drones and LiDAR, and then GIS and BIM would be like the top three right now, because they're already in demand and they're expected in many places, especially in a lot of large places. But I mean, even here in rural places, we get calls for LiDAR mapping and surveying, and we're seeing it, LiDAR moving in here. So,
Well, good. Well, and that's one thing that I've talking to a lot of people across the country, that that's the unique thing about surveying, that people don't realize that other than the medical profession, I don't know that there's any other profession that has grown so much in technology. From even the late 80s, when we were still just using theodolites. Now we were using EDMs, but once it was GPS and lasers and all of this other stuff, it just keeps exploding. And I'm curious to see what's next around the corner, but we'll see what goes.
A little scared too.
Yes, a little scared, especially.
Until last year, we were still using because we just swore by our Sokia GPS static equipment. I mean, we had one computer in this office that was old enough to run the old software, but and it finally died, so they had to move on.
Oh boy!
He's like, listen, we pay a lot of money for this new technology, so surely it has got to be a little bit more improved than this, but still arguments and just just like, no, this is the Bible. And that computer finally died. So
oh boy.
we don't get to use that no more. We still got it, and we might mount it up with our other old, equipment
Yes.
we have, it might make it to the shelf.
Yep. Museum pieces at this point, unfortunately. Well, the central thing I wanted to get with you today was your incredible outreach and the things you've been doing within your area, within your environment, and I got to be honest with you, you're the first person I've heard of that has gotten involved with back to school, meeting the kids and packing their backpacks and including survey stuff and all that. Tell us how you got involved in all of that and what from your perspective, what it really takes to go get involved with that.
Well, I think last year, National Surveyors Week is really what kind of sparked an interest in me and wanting to do that. And then I reached out and Trish sent me some really cool stuff, and I thought this would be really cool. So we took that and we planned a day here with some of the kids. The year before that, we did a little thing with some of the kids at church. I used to work or be a part of the youth ministry or help out with it. But and the kids, they love just playing with the toys, but the stuff. But I didn't take the time to show it to them, talk to them about it. It was just cool little McDonald's bag toys. So we took the stuff and the biggest thing that we have here is the Watermelon Festival. And it's really, really big. And that was actually the biggest outreach thing that we did. I mean, we spent weeks making bags. Trish sent us, 4 huge boxes of stuff. Cause we have 3,000 or 4,000 people come, and I got some beach ball globes that we kind of volleyballed. We took the top of my Jeep off, and just survey related, had some compasses and stuff. And I had my younger guys, and my daughter and my niece, who she's going to the military, and then she's going to be a surveyor. But I had the younger, cool looking crew so that they would attract the cool kids or all the kids. But they walked along, side handing out bags and talking to people. And we had the CST and the surveyor brochures. And I bet we gave out 3,000 bags and brochures and stuff like that at the Watermelon Festival, just within 2 miles. And when we got back to this office, they were so tired.
Yes.
But they were so, and I just felt it was really, really awesome. I got to drive, so I had a good time, but but it was good. And I know they felt good about it. And so when we had the opportunity to support the back to school, drive for Shady Grove, I reached out, and NSPS has always been really good about sending us promotional items whenever we want to do that. But we donated notebooks and and color pencils and just stuff that the community needed there. And then we'd had the flyers because parents come to these things, so when at the sign-out table, I wanted to have the CST and the NSPS things, because not saying anybody is any better or any worse than anybody else, but if somebody's looking for a professional way to make money somewhere where there's big field, big job opportunity, well, here, take a look at this. So when they signed in to said how many kids they have, they can get these 2 pamphlets, and then the kids could get the cool little toys and the little construction things and the compasses and the clips and then played with them. And then we hung around and talked to them a little bit. It was me and my niece, the one that's going to be a surveyor, that represented that day. But that's been what we've done so far. But that's not half of what we want to do. I'm talking with a Lazy Tortoise Ranch out of Taylor County. He owns 300 and some acres. That's pretty much, it's just nature. It's just natural. And he's a biologist, and he's wanting to get with me, and we're wanting to get a STEM program going in Taylor County. He's wanting to reach the kids that aren't usually reached, but we're working on, and this is all pre-planned, but putting something together and And he's already reached out. Actually, if I've given him the contact information to reach out to the environmental science teacher, but we want to get a STEM program going there in Taylor County and here in Jefferson County. But he's going to open up his ranch and allow the students to come out there, and he'll teach them the biology part, or let them do labs there, and then also allow me and our crews, on some of the labs, get maybe a field book and stuff.
Right.
Actually show them, what it does, not just talk to them about it or show them pictures or say, but actually just show them, how cool it is, to do it, maybe have, some drones come out there, show the kids, in relation to, mapping and video games, but show them, relations between something that, they see that they enjoy today. And,
right.
And it's survey related, aspect. Because I remember career days growing up, and I just don't recall anything being like, wow, but nobody really tried to put it in our perspective of how much fun that it could be, but, you show how, mapping connects drone racing, and how surveying is behind skate parks and, sports fields, there's just so much, stuff that you can share and get these kids really enthused about it. And then get the hands-on in there and just, get your own little crew going on, several different crews, and have several different, give them all each a task, or maybe do a little competition, and, let some of them, pace off some steps. But there's just so many ideas that we're throwing around that we just want to get them interested in STEM programs.
That is excellent. And, that's one thing, to your point, that, growing up, it was doctor, lawyer, fireman, policeman, all of the standard ones. And even when somebody now, I say, well, I want to be an engineer. It's like, okay, what does an engineer do? I don't know. It just sounds good. Well, if we can get into that lexicon of, and that's why I appreciate what you've done with the back to school program. Yes, the odds of any of those kids end up remembering it and becoming a surveyor, slim to none. But the fact that you did it, and it was it is outreach, and if nothing else, you never know when you might come across a parent might see that and have an older child at home and go, hey, what about this? You want to be outside, you want to work with math, you want to do all this stuff. So you just never know where that next opportunity to touch that mind and bring it in. So kudos to you and your crew for putting that together, because that to me, like I said, it's a no-brainer, but yet nobody's thinking of stuff like that. So, I can't thank you enough for doing that. That's excellent. And it sounds like this whole idea about with the biologist is let us know how we can help. Bottom line, we'd like to be able to do that, because to your point, a lot of the presentations that we give, as much as we want that whole room of students to become surveyors, just get into something STEM. There's so much out there to do, and there's so many good careers out there clamoring for people like that. So that's great. And to hear you've got younger family that's wanting to get into it. It'd be fun to talk to your niece as she gets going along and seeing what her path through the military and into surveying is going to be.
All three of my boys are working with us and are going in profession, whether CST or licensure, but all three of them on different survey career paths. My one and only daughter is not. She's going into psychology, but I do give survey and family the credit for that.
Yep.
I do give family and surveyors credit for that. But Faith, she's also, her and Piper both. They're my pride and joy, and she's going to be a good surveyor. She's going to be an awesome surveyor.
Well, that's something that NSPS has really gotten involved with the last couple of years, is not just working with the military and helping them develop more training within the military and adapting the CST program for their uses, but then also being there to help those coming out of the military find those jobs, get them connected with the employers, because as you know, as an employer, people are hard to come by.
Yes. Yes.
So you're right, and I love the fact that that's the message you're giving is you've got a bright future if you go down this road. You
Yeah.
really, really do. Well, I'm going to be respectful of your time. I got a couple more questions for you, and it sounds like, I mean, my one typical question is significant mentors, but it sounds like you've had a whole bunch around you, especially your father, to help drag you along. I mean, I guess it's kind of a two-part question. Is there anyone else that you consider a mentor that got you to where you're at
Well,
today?
yeah. Well, I would say Dad and Uncle Dale and Paul Snellgrove. All three of them had owned, at one point in the 80s
Right.
and 90s, Delta Land Surveyors. And so I grew up with all three of them. But, uncles, dads, even though Paul wasn't related, he was just like an uncle to me. So, I mean, survey related, I mean, really, those three men. And then the county commission, they appointed me as the planning commissioner about 4 years ago. So I actually serve on the board of planning commissioners. And last year they actually nominated and voted me. I'm actually the vice chairperson of the planning
Nice.
commission. And Mr. John Floyd Walker is chair serves on the board of commissioners with me. And he I guess now he's the longest serving chairman that's on there, but he's been a real he's been a mentor to me. I mean, as far as the planning commission goes, but the way that he views and talks about landowners' rights and discusses property owners' rights and defends them, and the way that and just the variety of things that comes before us, it actually it opened my eyes to a different way that I look at boundary surveys. It almost made me not that I disrespected them at all before, but just it almost
Right.
made me see them a little bit more important. They're just the value of land and the person that's having this boundary survey done. It's not just about the boundary lines. It's about real property. And it's protecting their property rights is what I helped to do on the board. Mr. John Floyd Walker has definitely been, or I consider as a mentor. I think Mr. Junior Tootin would be the other one. He's not a surveyor. He's just he was county commissioner before I knew him, but he's a longtime friend of Daddy's. But he's just a lifelong cattleman, and he's been a longtime friend of Daddy's. And he's just someone that he's a good businessman, and I've always just looked up to him and just thought the world of him, and just cherish him. So those
Very
are the
good.
only two that were not
Yeah.
surveyors.
Do you feel like because you were in such good hands and getting that advice and getting that upbringing that it's do you find it hard to be a mentor for you yourself to be a mentor, or is it kind of showing you the way to do that for your daughter, for your niece, well, for your sons?
I think it's harder to work for your parents than people think that it is. I think people think, oh, there's daddy's girl or there's daddy's boy, and they've got it made, and they could not be more mistaken. They do not, because and I didn't, I don't think I realized it till my boys were working for me. But you're harder on your kids than you are other people. I mean, you will downright, you can make them cry. Trust me, I've been in the bathroom and cried.
Yes.
But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Dad definitely is a good mentor, and he's the smartest person I've ever known. And I'm not just saying that because he's my dad, but he's just very smart and he's very practical. He's very to the point, but I've just always enjoyed, spending time with the younger kids in our church. I taught Sunday school classes, and I became the youth leader for some years until my kids got older, and now my youngest is 18. But I've enjoyed that. So, and apparently really immature, so I can see on their level what they're trying to see.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I don't know. I could, it's seeing things from the way that they see it. If we just stop and look at things from the way the person that we're trying to talk to would see it, I think we'd be able to get across our points across a lot better.
Right, right. Because at the end of the day, it's yes, we're providing a service, we're providing our professional expertise, but we're dealing with the property that is probably the largest purchase, the largest investment that 99% of the clients we're dealing with have ever invested in, and that's a big deal, and that's
and it's an investment. It is definitely an investment.
So there has to be a significant amount of trust there. And there's nothing worse than coming across as somebody that I need this done. I need this information and I can't trust you. I wouldn't want that to be my surgeon.
Right. Exactly.
So, all right. Last question for you. My final wrap-up question. You're at the front lines running a business, helping mentor. You're doing all this with the young people. How does the future of surveying look to you?
I think it looks promising, but I think it's going to look a lot different from the way that it did in the past. Technology is changing things fast, and drones they've become standard, and LiDAR. We're seeing so much AI, and just it's speeding up the process that we're once we build field time by the hour, and that would be where your money was made. Now you get mad if they go out there and they get a job done in 30 minutes. Take time to do your notes.
Do it
but
right.
They're shifting from just measuring land to becoming data managers and handling massive geospatial data sets and sharing results in real time. And like I said, and all the time it's about legal boundaries and trust. So, I mean, even with all the tech, there's always going to be the need for, surveyors that know what they're doing, or that are, I hate to say, they're for skilled surveyors that can make professional judgments and stand behind their work. But the demand is for surveyors is just strong too. I mean, there's not enough people entering the field, but if you're willing to learn the technology, and keeping the fundamentals, because it's not always, it's not just about running the drone, then, you've definitely got a solid career path. And I think if we zone it, push that, then we got a really bright future ahead of us.
Oh, I think so too. I think you're absolutely right. And as a second generation surveyor, I always say in my presentations, this is not my father's surveying anymore.
Yes,
I mean,
that's right.
And so, yes, we have a whole new world we're doing, but let's not forget what the end result needs to be. So
that's right.
Kim, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you for having me.
I would, and I tell you what, I would like to follow back up with you after you get into this creating this STEM program, hopefully with this biologist, and get up to speed on some great projects. I would like to follow up.
Really looking forward to that too. Like I said, we're just in the beginning stages. We just started talking about this 2 weeks ago, but we're really excited about it. He's got a passion for it like I do. So,
well, good. Let us know how we can help, and give a message to your dad.
Okay.
He should be pretty proud of you, because we are.
I'll tell him that.
Yes, we are very proud of the profession's proud of you, because you're doing the hard work. You really are. You're putting it out there, and not a lot of people are. And we need to do more like that. And you're setting a great example. So thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
Like I said, keep us in mind for whatever you're going in the future. And all right. Well, that'll wrap it up for this week's Surveyor Says. Wherever you listen to this podcast, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you soon. Thanks. You've been listening to Surveyor Says, the NSPS Podcast, brought to you by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. If you have any questions about today's episode or any other topic, please email us at info@nsps.us.com, as we are here to help. Subscribe to the podcast on most of your favorite streaming platforms, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. For more information about the podcast and NSPS, please visit our website, nsps.us.com. And remember, it's a great day to be a surveyor.